Our today's lecture is devoted to the history of the term criteria-based assessment. The term itself, criteria-based assessment, was first originated and used by Robert Eugene Glaser and characterized as a process that helps to determine the correspondence between reached and planned academic achievements of the students. Criteria-based assessment excludes comparison and dependence on the achievements of other learners and aims to inform about the level of competence of each learner. So competence means their knowledge, abilities, and skills. So criteria-based assessment is characterized by three features. The first one is assessment itself, general and specific. So assessment, which is measured against general, specific criteria. General, all learners are assessed against the same standards. What is related to the specific assessment? Here, assessment is carried out against established standards. The purpose itself of the criteria-based assessment is to obtain objective information on learning achievements of learners on the basis of assessment criteria, as well as to provide all stakeholders with the information for further improvement of the learning process. Let's speak about the objectives of the criteria-based assessment. The first one is to expand provision and functions of assessment in the learning process. Number two, to create conditions for constant self-improvement of learners by providing them with regular, even everyday feedback. Number three, to promote development of common standards, qualitative assessment mechanism and tools. Number four, to provide objective, continuous and reliable information. So what does it mean? It means that the learners about the quality of the learning, to teachers about the learners' progress, to parents about the degree of achievement of learning outcomes by learners, and to the authority or to the management bodies on the quality of the educational services, maybe even on the quality of curriculum itself. So the development of criteria-based assessment is closely connected to the evolution of education sought throughout the 20th and 21st centuries. It reflects a gradual shift from subjective grading toward fairness, transparency, and student-centered learning. This diagram illustrates four key stages in the history of criteria-based assessment: mastery learning, behavioral objectives, movement, and standards movement, and the era of 21st century skills. Let's begin with the first stage, mastery learning. This idea emerged in the 1960s, largely through the works of Benjamin Bloom. He proposed that all students could achieve high levels of understanding if given sufficient time and proper instruction. The key principle was that learning should be measured not by comparison with others, but by clearly defined learning goals. This concept laid the foundation for the modern idea of criterion assessment, where students are evaluated according to how well they meet established criteria, not in relation to their peers. The second stage, the behavioral objective movement, gained popularity in the 1970s and 1980s. During this period, education began to focus on observable and measurable learning outcomes. Psychologists such as Robert Magyar emphasized that teaching objectives should be expressed in specific behavioral terms. For example, students will be able to identify or students will demonstrate. This approach helped to clarify what teachers expected from students and allow assessment to become more systematic and transparent. The third stage, the standards movement, emerged in 1990s and early 2000s. Governments and educational institutions started to develop national and international standards that defined what students should know and be able to do at each grade level. This period saw the introduction of standardized testing, performance, benchmarks, and rubrics, tools that made assessment more objective and comparable across schools and regions. The focus shifted from teaching content to achieving outcomes. Finally, in the 21st century skills era, assessment became more dynamic and learner-centered. Modern education emphasizes creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, and digital literacy. Criterion-based assessment evolved to reflect these broader competences, not just academic knowledge. Today, assessment rubrics often include criteria for communication, innovation, and problem solving, preparing students for real-world challenges. Now let's consider the content of the criteria-based assessment. First of all, we should speak about the state compulsory educational standard. Here, there are some requirements for the level of learners' competence in education fields. Expected results, for example, according to the Bloom's taxonomy. Subject program and course plan, learning objectives, units, cross-curricular topics, subunits, levels of thinking skills, knowledge, understanding, perception, analysis, synthesis, and of course, assessment itself. Assessment criteria are basic criterion according to which the level of learners' academic achievements are assessed. Of course, they are closely connected to the feedback, daily practice. Students are expected to have a feedback from the teachers in a regular form. Points at the end of each unit and term, and levels of learning achievement at the end of each unit and the term too. And of course, at the end of the year, they will get their final assessment. Thank you very much.